Am I the a-hole for calling my parents out on their behavior? Contains cuss words because I'm too tired to act polite. I'll start by saying English isn't my first language, so excuse any mistakes. But honestly, right now, getting this out feels way more important than getting every word perfect. I'm 14F, the third of four daughters. Growing up in this house has always felt like living in a constant storm, except I'm the only one without an umbrella. I'm not exaggerating when I say that in my family, there's a clear pecking order, and I'm at the very bottom. Sometimes, I think I was born into the wrong family entirely. When I was little, I didn't see it for what it was. I thought maybe I was just difficult, too needy, too sensitive. I convinced myself that if I just tried harder, if I was quieter, if I did more chores, maybe my parents would love me the way they clearly loved my sisters. But the truth was, I could scrub the house until my hands bled, and it would still never be enough. Let me introduce everyone with fake names, of course. Zoe, 18F, the eldest. She's basically the queen of the house. She gets away with everything, talks to my parents like she's their equal, and treats the rest of us like her personal servants. Once, when I was about 10, she told me I should have been aborted, and laughed so hard she could barely breathe. She still calls me a failed abortion sometimes, just to get a reaction. Kayla, 16F, the golden child. She has never been yelled at, never been grounded, never even told no in any serious way. She can break rules that would get me screamed at for hours. If Kayla's involved, my parents will twist reality itself to make sure she's blameless. Me, 14F, the invisible one. I'm not praised, I'm not celebrated, and the only time I'm noticed is when something needs to be blamed on me. Sarah, 11F, the youngest. She's spoiled rotten, gets whatever she wants, and my parents cater to her every mood swing. If she wants my stuff, she takes it, and if I complain, I'm told I'm too old to be selfish. Now, about my parents. My mom, 48F, and dad, 54M, are strict in ways that would make most people's jaws drop, but only with me. My sisters? They live like royalty. My room used to be just a mattress on the floor and a single drawer for clothes. No desk, no shelves, nothing. Then one day, I failed a test at school. As punishment, they took even that away, making me sleep on the floor in the living room. My sisters, on the other hand, have fully furnished bedrooms with nice beds, fairy lights, rugs, and desks covered in expensive gadgets. They each have an iPhone 12. Even Sarah. My phone is an old, cracked iPhone XR, handed down to me when my aunt upgraded. Birthdays make the favoritism impossible to ignore. Zoe and Kayla get $1,000 each. Sarah gets just as much, and I got $20 from a friend last year. My parents haven't given me a gift since 2020. The abuse has never been just emotional. My sisters steal my clothes and makeup, and if I say anything, I get hit or screamed at. My dad's punishments often involve physical violence. I've been slapped so hard that my cheeks stung for hours, and once he shoved me into a wall so hard my shoulder ached for weeks. My mom is just as cruel, only she uses her words like knives. She calls me lazy, ungrateful, useless. She even made a group chat with her friends to talk badly about me. I've seen it, messages calling me a burden and waste of space. I used to be terrified of my dad. The sound of his shoes on the tile floor would make my stomach knot. But something shifted recently. The fear is gone, replaced by nothing but anger and resentment. A few weeks ago, my teacher noticed a scar on my forehead. I'd been hiding it under my bangs, but she saw it anyway. She told my mom that if she saw more signs of injury, she'd have to report it to CPS. That night, my dad came home furious. I don't remember all the details, just the yelling, the blows, and lying in bed afterward, thinking, I wish I didn't exist. Those thoughts, they didn't go away. I've been treated like an adult since I was 6, not in a good way. I was doing full house cleaning before I could even spell the word responsibility. I'm never allowed to hang out with friends after school. I go straight home every day, and even then, I'm not safe from criticism. Today was the breaking point. My parents bought my sisters a brand new PS5. I noticed there were only 3 controllers. When I asked where mine was, my mom said, "Did we ever say we got you one?" That was it. Years of frustration boiled over. "Oh, I'm sorry," I said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "My mistake for thinking you'd ever treat your kids equally for once in your useless, pathetic fucking life." My dad's face went crimson. He grabbed a metal scraper from the kitchen and swung it at me. But I've been going to the gym for a year now. It's the only outlet I have. I dodged, blocked him, and punched him in the face. He stumbled, shocked, clutching his nose while my mom and Zoe rushed to help him. Zoe turned to me, sneering. Mom should just marry you off to a 50-year-old man to get rid of you. I looked her straight in the eye and said, I'd rather marry a man as old as Dad than spend another day with you mentally ill motherfuckers. Then I walked away. My sisters followed me, trying to guilt-trip me, telling me I'd regret it. I told them to fuck off. I don't think I'm wrong for finally standing up for myself. But I also know this house is never going to be a place where I'm safe or loved. I just don't know what comes next. I'm exhausted. I'm angry. And I'm done being their scapegoat. If anything changes, I'll update. Update. It's been about 3 weeks since my original post, and everything has changed for the better this time. I'm still trying to process it all, but I wanted to share because I know a lot of you wanted me to have a way out. 2 days after I posted, something completely unexpected happened. I was outside after school, sitting on the curb with my backpack in my lap, just killing time because I didn't want to go home yet. A woman pulled up in a small silver car and got out. She looked at me for a moment and then said my name softly, my full name, which very few people outside my family know. It was my Aunt Elena, my dad's younger sister. I barely remembered her because the last time I saw her I was maybe 4 years old. My parents had always said she moved away and didn't keep in touch, but it turns out they cut her off after a fight years ago. She had been living in another state but recently moved back nearby for work. She only found out where we lived after running into one of my dad's old friends. She had been driving by our neighborhood hoping to maybe see him. Instead, she found me sitting there looking like I'd been through hell. At first, I froze. I didn't know if she was safe to talk to, but then she asked me one simple question. Sweetheart, are you okay? You look like you need someone to be on your side. That was all it took. I broke down crying right there on the sidewalk and told her everything. The favoritism, the physical abuse, the night with the scraper, my room being taken away, the scars, the teacher who noticed. She was horrified. She had no idea any of this was happening. She told me she knew my parents were strict, but she never imagined they were capable of outright abuse.
She didn't waste time.
She took me to her place that very afternoon. It was the first time in years I felt like I could breathe. She made me tea, let me shower, and gave me clothes to wear. That night, she called CPS. The next day, CPS showed up at my parents' house while I was still at my aunt's. They interviewed me, my sisters, and my parents separately. My sisters tried to lie at first, but when CPS mentioned possible legal trouble, Zoe cracked and admitted my parents had been physically violent toward me. Kayla tried to downplay it, but eventually backed up the worst parts. Sarah just cried. Once CPS had statements and the evidence of my injuries, including the forehead scar and other bruises, things moved fast. My parents were given an emergency court order banning them from contacting me. I'm now officially in my aunt's temporary custody while the investigation continues. And here's where it gets even more satisfying, the news spread. In our neighborhood, nothing stays quiet for long. People found out why CPS was there. Parents at school started talking. My sisters, who had spent years treating me like dirt, suddenly found themselves on the receiving end of dirty looks, whispers, and even outright comments like, "How could you let that happen to your own sister?" They tried to act like they were the heroes who stood up for me. But everyone knows the truth. They only spoke up when they were cornered. The biggest shock came from my grandparents. Both sets, my mom's parents and my dad's parents, showed up at my aunt's house after hearing what happened. They were furious. I sat there while my grandma from my dad's side looked my aunt dead in the eye and said, "We disown them. From this moment on, they are no children of ours." My mom's parents said nearly the same thing. It was surreal. These were people I thought would always defend my parents, but apparently the abuse crossed a line even for them. Now, I'm living with my aunt full-time. She's been nothing but kind and patient. She's set up a real bedroom for me with a proper bed, a desk, a small bookshelf, and even a plant. I got my own key to the apartment. I can hang out with friends after school. I can breathe without waiting for someone to scream at me. CPS is still handling the case, but my aunt has already filed for permanent guardianship. She's also helping me get therapy so I can process everything. For the first time in my life, I feel like I have a real chance at a future that isn't just survival. And the best part? I don't feel invisible anymore. I feel free.